So I want to continue talking a little bit about entertainment and music and dancing, continuing with this person's question, and then also we've had a few people write in with questions and comments. So she's saying she's also asking herself, now about music and entertainment, am I being too austere? Or am I losing my humanity, whatever that means? Music, literature, and such other things have traditionally been ways for groups of people to communicate, share, and so forth. I used to love playing and listening to music, reading novels, good literature, not trashy stuff. But I think I've been stopping myself, at least partly because I'm thinking or believing at some unspoken, unexamined level that these things are somehow un-Buddhist pursuits, for lack of a better term. And now I think I do want to examine these unspoken assumptions and get some answers. Okay, so this is very good, really kind of doing some deep research, and asking very good questions about this. So, I completely agree that, music and literature and so forth have traditionally been ways that people communicate with each other. And you even see in religion, you have music and many different kinds of dance and, and literature and so forth. So it's quite important, and it's a medium, for religious people and non-religious people and people in all walks of life to communicate through all these different ways. Yeah. So it's more when you're doing a spiritual practice, kind of what type of music are you going to listen to? What type of dance do you do? What type of entertainment? No, not entertainment. What type of literature? Or what type of films are you going to look for? So it's not about cutting yourself off from the rest of the world. Yeah, it's about choosing things wisely. Okay, so so that's why for monastics, and I really specify for monastics here, lay people don't have this restriction. It's completely up to them to self-regulate. So for monastics, we stick to, our chanting and the kind of religious music that we have. In terms of dance, the Tibetans have, these kind of lama dancing things. Some of the monastics do those, the Tibetans on special ceremonies. It has more to do with Tibetan culture, although some of the stories they tell are related to different, some of the dances, are related to deities and so on. But that's more a cultural Tibetan thing. And then, in terms of literature, sticking to literature that's going to have some meaning in terms of your practice. We read the biographies of different great masters. We read the Buddhist literature, things like that will really encourage our practice. Sometimes it's good. I know for a while I did a lot of reading about China during the Cultural Revolution, and I read some of the literature about people's autobiographies who lived through that time, because I felt it was very helpful to my understanding of the world and also my understanding of what the Tibetan China situation and my understanding of what monastics went through. We watch documentaries that have to do with themes we need to know about in the world as monastics, maybe different history things or things on the environment, or like I was talking about last time, things about Dharma in prison. So we pick and choose what we watch, because we know that we're easily influenced by these things. Okay? So that's the reason. It's not cutting yourself off from all these things and becoming austere and unrelated to the world. That's not the idea. Okay? Now, some other people had some comments similar to this. So one person was saying that, but entertainment allows you to imagine doing things that you don't ordinarily do. It opens up your imagination, and you can imagine being different people and doing different things. And so they were saying, that entertainment is good for that reason. It sparks the imagination and gives us the space to live in, a fantasy for a while. So I agree with that. That's very true. And that's why it's extremely important, I think, if you're doing serious spiritual practice, and even if you want to just be a good human being and keep good ethical control, good ethical discipline, that you really regulate your connection with the media, because the mainstream, what does the imagination, the entertainment give your imagination the freedom to roam to? Sex and violence. And people, I really disagree with people who say, well, you can watch all this stuff and it doesn't get you to be violent or, to do these kind of actions. I really disagree with that, because in our Buddhist practice, we also use our imagination. We might imagine being Kuan Yin or being Chenrezig or being the Buddha, and acting the way a Buddha acts and feeling the way a Buddha feels towards other sentient beings. So it's the same idea of using our imagination, but it's coming with a very different result. And we do it specifically because when you can imagine doing something, that opens your door for actually doing it. So if you watch a lot of violent movies, it opens the door in your mind for letting those violent tendencies out. And the same with the movies that emphasize sex so much. It opens the door for your mind to go in that direction. So again, this is why monastics regulate in this way, and why we use our imagination to, imagine going into a group of people that are strangers and regarding them with love and compassion instead of with, being timid and shy. Or we imagine, being in our meditations, let's say, and working with anger, we imagine, people may criticize us, but how we're going to respond, how we're going to feel inside and think, how we're going to act during the situation. So in our meditation we use imagination, but for a really specific purpose, to cultivate the kind of qualities we want to have. Because imagination is very, very powerful. Then somebody else asked, if you're a lay practitioner who has the Bodhisattva vows, what is an appropriate way to observe what the auxiliary vow that has to do with abandoning being attracted or attached to amusement and entertainment? So another very good question. Okay, so this in the Tibetan version of the Bodhisattva vows, it's number 13 of the auxiliary vows. It's under ethical conduct, how to help improve your ethical conduct. So again, I think for a lay practitioner with the Bodhisattva vows, they would regard this in a similar way to the way monastics do, because when you have the Bodhisattva vows, you really, your whole idea, your whole focus is being of the greatest benefit to other living beings. So you would definitely want to not involve yourself with activities that would stir up the afflictive emotions that would open the door to being harmful to sentient beings, and instead you would want to connect with the music and literature and documentaries or entertainments, kind of in quotes, that would open your heart to increasing your bodhicitta, increasing your understanding of sentient beings, increasing your tolerance and awareness of sentient beings' experience, and your ability to understand how people's minds works and thus to benefit them. So again, too, for that lay practitioner with the Bodhisattva vows, they would try and, do some serious reflection about this and really see how they're affected by these kinds of things, and again, steer their minds in a good direction and restrain from literature, music, dance, and so on, that stirred up the negative emotions. And instead, use the stuff that stirs up the positive emotions that you're trying to cultivate. Okay?